This is a May 2023 CSEC Mathematics past paper. We are question 10. Now, part A says the matrices A and B represent the transformation given below. So you have A, which is this matrix, represent an anticlockwise rotation of 90 degrees about the origin O, and B, which is this matrix, represent a reflection in the line, in the straight line y equal negative x. Alright, and then you're supposed to determine the elements of the matrix C, which represents an anticlockwise rotation of 90 degrees about the origin, followed by a reflection in the straight line y equals negative x. Alright, I've copied this part of the question over here. Before we do anything with it, let us just review what some of these things would mean. Alright? Now, A is the matrix 0, negative 1, 1, 0, representing an anticlockwise rotation of 90 degrees about the origin. I have copied a graph paper here. Suppose we have an x-axis and y-axis, all right? And we have our numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. This is 0, the origin. We're going up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. An anticlockwise rotation 90 degrees about the origin means that if you have a line here, it would rotate and go around, right, like this. So what you would have is this rotation 90 degrees about the origin, right? Now, if you look at 0, negative 1, 1, 0, it's at 90 degrees about the origin. 0, negative 1, 1, 0. Let us just test it quickly. 0, negative 1, 1, 0. Now, suppose you have, say, a triangle, and you have the points 2, 2. So you have 6, 2, and you have 5, 6. Right? You have this triangle. You want to rotate it 90 degrees anticlockwise about the origin using this matrix. Remember, this is just to remind us an understanding of what these things really mean, right? It's not really a part of answering the question. Now, you see the 2, 2, you would have 0, negative 1, 1, 0, multiplying the 2, 2. So, when you multiply that out, you would get 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0, plus negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. 1 times 2 is 2, plus 0 times 2 is 0. So you end up with negative 2, 2, right? As for 6, 2, you have 0, negative 1, 1, 0 multiplied by 6, 2. You have 0 times 6 is just 0, plus negative 1 by 2 is negative 2. 1 times 6 is 6, plus 0 times 2 is 0. So you would have negative 2, 6. Right? And then the 5, 6, where would it go? 0, negative 1, 1, 0 multiplied by 5, 6, you will get 0 times 5 is 0, plus negative 1 times 6 is negative 6, 155 plus 0, 6, 0. So what you would have is negative 6, 5. So if you look at these points, 2, negative 2, so you have 2, negative 2. Let me put in the negative numbers because we're going to need those numbers. So the negative numbers, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6, negative 7, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. Alright, so you have negative 2, 2. So you would, negative 2, 2 would be here. So the next number, the next coordinate, negative 2, 6. So you have negative 2, 6 would be up here. And then negative 6, 5. You have negative 6, 5 would be here. So our new triangle would be this. Now we can test to see if it was rotated like that. This point, turn 90 degrees around here, good. This point, when you spun it around 90 degrees anti-clockwise, you ended up here, good. And this point, spun around, rotated 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Right, so that's what it really means, right? And then, as for the reflection in the line y equal negative x, let's see what that one is about. Let's erase some of these things. Let's erase these. I want to build an understanding of what the question is saying, right? So now, y equals negative x. Now, what y equals negative x mean? Is that if x equals negative 1, y is equal to negative 1, which is positive 1, right? So in this case, y would be equal to 1. If x is equal to 1, then y would be equal to negative 1 because y is negative x, and so on. X equals 2, y would be negative 2. So let's see what happens if we plot this line. When x is 1, y is negative 1. When x is 2, y is negative 2. When x is 3, y is negative 3. When x is negative 1, y is positive 1. When x is negative 2, y is positive 2, and so on. So you see the pattern and how the line would go. So this line now would be somewhat like this, right? So let me extend it a bit. So that would be the line y equals negative x. And here now, the matrix associated with the reflection, 0, negative 1, negative 1, 0. So, the matrix is 0, negative 1, negative 1, 0. If you multiply this by 2, 2, what do you get? 0 times 2 is 0. Plus negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Plus 0 times 2 is 0. So you get negative 2, right? As for 5, 6, you have 0, negative 1, 0 multiplied by 5, 6. You will see that it's going to be 0 times 5 is 0, plus negative 1 times 6 is negative 6. Negative 1 by 5 is negative 5 plus 0, 6, 0. So you get negative 6, negative 5. And as for 6, 2, we see what will happen to the point 6, 2. You have 0, negative 1, 0, multiplied by 6, 2. What you would get, 0 times 6 is 0, plus negative 1 by 2 is negative 2. Then negative 1 by 6 is negative 6, plus 0 times 2 is 0. And you get negative 2, negative 6. Alright? So, the new points that we would have is negative 2, negative 2. So, negative 2 would be here. Then we have negative 6, negative 5. So, negative 6, negative 5. Remember, the negative 6 would be here. So, the negative 6, negative 5 would be here. And then negative 2, negative 6. So negative 2, negative 6 would be down here. So our new triangle would look like this. Now, if you look at both triangles, you see that there is indeed a reflection. Right? This point is reflected over to here. Over the mirror line, this one reflected over the mirror line here, this one is reflected over and comes here. So they are on opposite sides of the mirror line at equal distances from the mirror line. Alright? So that's just a discussion explaining what these things mean using these matrices, right? Now, what they're saying, determine the elements of the matrix C, which represents an anti-clockwise rotation of 90 degrees about the origin, O, followed by a reflection in the straight line y equals negative x. What you'd have to do is multiply the matrices. So you have the anti-clockwise rotation first, 0, negative 1, 1, 0, multiplied by 0, negative 1, 0. So let's multiply the matrices and see what happens. 0 times 0 is 0, plus negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. That's the first element, because you have row 1 by column 1. Remember, here, this is in row 2. Row 1, column 2. So row 1 will be multiplied by column 2. So you have 0 times negative 1 is 0, plus, then you have negative 1 times 0, which is 0, right? Then here, this is row 2, column 1. So multiply row 2 by column 1. So first elements multiplied, 1 times 0 is 0, plus second elements multiplied, 0 times negative 1 is 0. Then this is in row 2, column 2. So multiply row 2 by column 2. So what we have, negative 1, not 1 by negative 1, it's going to be negative 1, plus, that's it, those are the first elements multiplied. Then the second element, 0 times 0 is 0. So what you're going to get here is just 1. So this is 1. And this will be 0. This will be 0 also. So you have 0 here and 0 here. Negative 1 plus 0 is negative 1. Right? So that is your matrix. So the elements are 1, 0, 0, negative 1. Now, here, describe geometrically the single transformation represented by C. Alright. Now, you want this single transformation represented by C. So remember, you have an anti-clockwise rotation 90 degrees about the origin, and then a reflection in the line y equals negative x. So, discussing it, let me erase some parts of this, and then we discuss it in some amount of detail to see what happened here. You rotate it anti-clockwise and then reflect it. Now, suppose you use this triangle. You work out that triangle with this matrix. Let's see what would happen. Let's erase the work that we did here. Alright, so it's 1, 0, 0, negative 1. Have 1, 0, 0, negative 1. You multiply by 2, 2. You have 1, 0, 0, negative 1. You're going to multiply by 5, 6. You have 1, 0, 0, negative 1. You're going to multiply by 6, 2. And see what they give to you, right? So here, you're going to have 1 times 2 is 2, plus 0 times 2 is 0, right? Then you have 0 times 2 is 2, plus negative 1. So 0 times 2 is 0, right? 0 times 2 is 0, plus negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. So what you have is 2, negative 2, right? 1 by 5 is 5, plus 0 times 6 is 0. 0 times 5 is 0, plus negative 1 times 6 is negative 1. So you'll have 5 negative, it's negative 6, so you have 5 negative 6. And here, 1 times 6 is 6. Plus 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 6 is 0. Plus negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. So what you have is 6, negative 2, right? So what you're going to end up with is 2, negative 2. So you have 2, negative 2, which is going to be right here. So this comes down here. You have 5, negative 6. So 5, negative 6 would come down here. And you also have 6, negative 2. 6, negative 2 would be here. So you draw your new triangle, right? What you can see here is that you reflected it over the x-axis. You see? X-axis would be the mirror line, and each point would be at equal distance away from the mirror line on opposite sides. Right? You see that? This is all the way up here, this is all the way down here. Alright. So here now, remember, this would be a reflection. You would write, you show your working some way or the other, whether it's this way or some other way. and show that it has a reflection over the x-axis, all right? So what happened? You have a space to write whatever you're writing. Now, here, if you do remember it, that would be good. But 1, 0, 0, negative 1 would show that. So, here, looking at it again, you have anti-clockwise rotation, 90 degrees above the origin. Reflection in y equals negative x. So if you have an object here, when you rotate it 90 degrees above the origin, it comes here. Right? Oh, let's put it here. If you have an object at 4, 1, you rotate it 90 degrees above the origin, it will go over to 1, 4. Then you reflect it. Right? So, let me do that again. It's anti-clockwise 90 degrees above the origin, and then reflecting the line y equals x, right? So here now, you have 4, 1, right? If you 4 to the right, 1 up. When you reflect it 90 degrees above the origin, you'd have 4 up. Oh, yes, I made a mistake earlier. It's 1 to the left, right? And then here, what you have, oh my, I just realized I made a mistake here. My. I would have to backtrack somewhat, you know. I had multiplied the matrices in the wrong order. Oh boy. Alright. Let me go at it again. I should not have multiplied them in that order. Right? The last operation matrix would go to the left and the first to the right. Oh boy. Alright, let me see if I can erase some part of this thing here. This particular triangle here should not be the triangle, because I would need to redo these parts. It's not a reflection over the x-axis. I just remember the right thing. I might. Remembering. Alright, so you have to be careful when trying to remember what to do here. It says, determine the elements of the matrix C represent an anticlockwise rotation of 90 degrees above the origin, that is 0, negative 1, 1, 0, followed by a reflection in the line y equals negative x. This one would come here. My. 0, negative 1, negative 1, 0. So let's go at this part again. 0 times 0 is 0, plus negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. 0 times negative 1 is 0, plus negative 1 times 0 is 0. Negative 1 times 0 is 0, plus 0 times 1 is 0. Negative 1 times negative 1 is positive 1. 0 times 0 is 0. So, what we have here, 0 plus negative 1 is negative 1. So, negative 1 comes here. 0 plus 0 is 0. So, you just have 0 here. 0 plus 0 is 0. So, what you have here is 0. 1 plus 0 is 1. Right. So, that is what we should have had all along. So let's work on this triangle now, just to see what happens to it. we have negative 1, 0, 0, 1, and it will be multiplied. It will multiply 2, 2. So we're going to multiply 2, 2. See what we get? 0. Alright. Negative 1, 0, 0, 1 will multiply another point here, which is 5, 6 times 5, 6, and then 6, 2. So we multiply 6, 2 next by negative 1, 0, 0, 1. And then what we have is negative 1 times 2 is negative 2, plus 0 times 2 is 0. 0 times 2 is 0 plus 1, 2, 2. Negative 1 divided by 5 is negative 5 plus 0, 6, 0, 0, 5, 0, 1, 6, 6. And then we multiply this one. Negative 1 times 6 is 6 plus 0, 2, 0. So it's 6 up here. 0 times 6 is 0 plus 1, 2, 2. So what we have is our new triangle is really negative 2, 2. So we have negative 2, 2. Well, it will be on the line here. Then we have negative 5, 6. So we have negative 5, 6 will be right up here. Good. Then 6, 2. And then 6, 2. Oh, negative 6. I left off the negative from this. So this time, yes, so it's going to be negative 6, 2. Negative 6, 2 would be what here? Alright. So here now, our new triangle would really look like this. Alright. So what we have, we rotate 90 degrees about the origin and then reflect in the line. So let us verify something. This is the origin. This point, we rotate it 90 degrees about the origin. It would come right around here, so that the rotation would see what's happening here. And then we reflect it. It would end up at the same point because it would be on the line. As for the 6, 2, where would it go? This is 6, 2, right? If we swing it around, it would come right here, right? It would come right here. And then you reflect it over the line y equals negative x. So it would reflect it. Right, so it would end up there. That point would end up over there. And then when we look at 5, 6 now, we're going 5 to the right and 6 up. When reflect it over, you would go 5 up and 6 to the left. Right? 5 up. Oh, not the wrong place. 5 up and 6 to the left would come over here. And then we reflect it over the line, it would come right here. Alright, so that's what we done. Right? But yeah, that major mistake I made, remember, you want, when you want this matrix, matrix 1 followed by matrix 2, You put matrix 2 to the left and matrix 1 to the right, and you multiply them, right? So I have to remember that order in order to not to make the same mistake I did earlier. All right, let's see what else happens here. All right, part B. We'll look at part B in another video.